Hi ladies. This is the material for our last meeting actually. We are talking about the passive voice and the modals. In this presentation, I will show you about the form of passive voice as well as the problem with the passive voice that frequently appear in ELPT tests. Also, the form of modals and the problem with modals in ELPT. Alright, let's talk about the first one, the passive voice. The passive voice cannot be separated with the active one, but here is a brief definition about the active and the passive voice. The active sentences has the person or thing that does the verb. In this case, we call it the doer in the beginning of the sentence, and then it is followed by the verb. And finally, the person or thing that the action happens to, the patient, is placed at the last part of the sentence. A passive sentence places the patient in the beginning. On the contrary, this is the contrary with the active one. The passive sentence places the patient in the beginning of the sentence and the doer at the later part of the sentence. So, if we put it into a chart, it will be like this. In active sentence, look at this one. She published the book when I was in high school. Look at this. The subject is the person who does the action, she, and then it's followed by the verb published, and the object is something that becomes the patient, the person or thing that the action happens to. This is the structure of the active sentence. However, in passive sentence, the doer is located at the back of the sentence, at the later part of the sentence, and the verb is changed from the verb to, simple verb to, into a to be plus verb 3. And at the beginning of the sentence, instead of the doer, it's the patient. So you just simply swap the patient and the doer's position. Nah, the passive sentence is used in order to change the focus of the sentence. Whoever is placed in the first or in the beginning of the sentence becomes the focus of the sentence. Look at this one. The Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. In this sentence, it is not the painter who is more interesting. It's the paintings. Therefore, instead of putting Leonardo da Vinci painted Mona Lisa, they reverse the place of the doer, Da Vinci, and the object, the Mona Lisa. Also, it's disregard the when, who, or what causes the action. The doer is not important. So in order for us to be able to omit the doer, we have to place the doer as the object and place the patient as the subject, because in a complete sentence, obviously we need the subject. Okay? He was arrested. It's very obvious that anyone who authorized to arrest someone is the police. So he was arrested. We know who arrested this guy. It's the police. So if we know who he is, then why bother to put it in the sentence, right? So the sentence is rephrased into a passive one. He was arrested. Also, show factual or scientific writing. The passive form is common to occur in scientific writing. One of the best way to write your point in scientific writing, because the researcher is not the important one here. The result of the research is the more interesting one. The chemical is placed in a tube and the data are entered into the computer. See? The doer is not stated. Because what? The doer is not important here. It's the result of it is important. Therefore, just place the result as the subject by rephrasing the verb by rephrasing the sentence into passive voice. Also, it can be used to put new information at the end of the sentence to improve style. Using active sentence all the time can be boring, so to improve your writing style, the use of passive sentences can be something fresh in doing so. Look at this one. 3 books are used regularly in the class. The books were written by Dr. Bell. Dr. Bell wrote the books. Might sound clumsy. Okay, so the passive sentence can be created again by putting the to be into whatever tense followed by the past participle accompany it. She writes research paper on the weekend. Okay, you notice in this active sentence, the tense is simple present tense. Okay, the present one. So if we change it into the passive, the verb change into verb 3 and to be is added. Okay, now if the subject comes in plural, then the to be follow it. Instead of using is, the singular to be, you have to use the are, the plural one. And the doctor pierced the acupuncture needles on the patient's foot. Here, the active sentence comes in past tense. So if we want to rephrase it into the passive voice, the acupuncture needles were pierced by the doctor on the patient's foot. So the pierced is a regular verb, so there is no change between the verb 2 and the verb 3, but you have to change the to be to indicate that it happens in the past. And like I said before, this is the to be and the past participle. And like I said before, it doesn't matter if you omit the doer because it's in the object position, so it's fine to just omit it. And the sentence is still grammatically correct. The acupuncture needles were pierced on the patient's foot. Okay, now we arrive at the problems with the passive. These are common problems with passive voice that occurred in the ELPT test. This is the formula of the passive voice. The passive voice needs to have to be plus past participle, and the object is introduced with by phrase. So the first problem is related with the incorrect form. So whenever you encounter a passive voice, remember that all of these appear in your sentence, appear in the tests, but by object can be there, it can just be omitted. Alright, so the problems may come in the wrong form of verb. Look at this one. The bridge was hit by a large ship during a sudden storm last week. You may notice that this sentence is a passive sentence by recognizing the by object here, by a large ship. Now, in this written expression, you need to focus on the underlined phrase or words because those are the wrong ones. So, if you recognize the by phrase, just go straight to the predicate. In this predicate, the form is was hitting. So you might notice that there is something wrong here because the verb, it's not a verb 3. Instead it's used the verb ing. So obviously this is the problematic one. You choose this one. And the other example, a new pair of jeans will be bought by Samantha at the mall tomorrow. Okay, again, you might notice the by phrase here. So it is obviously a passive sentence. So go immediately to check the verb will be by. Okay, remember in the passive voice, the verb should be in verb 3. It should be past participle. But here, the verb used the basic form. So this is the problematic one. And also sometimes the problem is in the lack of be. There is no to be in the sentence. Look, champagne and wine drunk by Calvin and Gerald at the dinner last night. Okay, here you also notice that this is a passive sentence by recognizing the by object, but on the predicate, the verb is not accompanied by to be. It's just there, even though it's in past participle, but there's no to be there. So this is the problematic one. And this one is an example in the multiple choice question. The house blah 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 in the 7th century. So how to deal with this kind of question? Okay, take a look at this one. The answer is was built. In this one, in the choices, there are several options. Built, the verb to, was building, to be plus verb ing, and builds, verb 1, and also the last one to be plus verb 3. You know that in the sentence, in a passive sentence, the predicate should be in the form of to be and past participle. Okay, so the correct answer is D, which contains to be plus past participle.